Earlier this week, I did my list of top 10 worst anime I saw in 2015. Many people said that the list felt bitter, angry, disturbed. Perhaps I am in need of medication, but I'm going to ignore all those potential truths, and I'm going to talk about the top 10 best anime I saw here. Because, believe it or not, I actually liked most of what I watched, and there was a lot of great stuff that I saw this year. And I am here to celebrate it and talk about it all with you and just get a good feeling for 2015, because I like to do the negative stuff at the beginning of the week, just get that out of the way, end the year on positivity, so when I think back on 2015, I think about what I watched, I can be happy. But before we get into the list, some ground rules. Rule 1. I did not only watch 2015 stuff this year. A lot of what I watch is at recommendation or what people want me to check out and review. So there's stuff on here that didn't come out this year. There's stuff from other years. In fact, I think a lot of what here's on this list, but there's stuff from this year. But regardless, it's a list of what I watched. And remember, I didn't get to everything. So if anything wasn't on my last list or this list, it's because I just didn't watch it, or I just didn't think it was that significant enough to deserve to be on the list. Again, everything I'm talking about here has a review, so you can just check that out on my channel. Also, one more thing. The series has to have ended. There has to be a finale for me to judge, because in my opinion, the ending is paramount. So therefore, something like Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, or Fairy Tail, or Naruto, or One Piece would be unable to be on this list, because I can't judge the series as a whole. I can only judge where we are at, but something like Durarara does count because it did finish for the year and give me some form of a conclusion. So without further ado, now we can get started. Slice of life comedies tend to never interest people that much because at the end of the day, it's just showing life. How can you really make that interesting in a world where we get shows that literally feature giant robots slinging galaxies at each other? Well, Hidamari Sketch finds a very interesting and very lovable way of doing it. A clever animation style, really likable characters, and just overall fun scenarios resulted in just a really likable show. Is this the best thing you can watch? Is it the greatest anime I've ever seen? Not by any stretch of the imagination, but the series does such a good job with the animation style, with the music and the score. Hell, I'm not gonna lie, I have this soundtrack. I liked it so much that you're there, you're in the world, you're with these characters, you're going through their adventures, you're caring about what's happening in their lives. There's no major drama, there's nothing like that, there's no crazy relationships. Hell, the one they attempt at is why this is so low on the list. But the thing is that it's just the sort of thing you watch for atmosphere. Whatever problem I had while I was watching this show, when I put this show on, I just didn't care about anymore, because for 24 minutes, you're in the Hidamari apartments and you're following these characters. This is the kind of anime where do I need to go out and buy merchandise or the dub of it? I don't even know if there is a dub. But no, I don't. But the thing is that if Hidamari Sketch season, I don't know what season they're up to, would come out tomorrow, I would watch it and love it just as much as the rest of it, because it's just that enjoyable a show. I'm going to catch hell for this one, aren't I? Look, I honestly believe that Terror in Resonance is, Shinshino Watanabe's, I'm probably skewing his name, is probably his weakest series to date. Having said that, man, is this show still so awesome. The animation feels so realistic that even though the scenarios are kind of ludicrous, let's be real with ourselves, the series just has a level of reality to it that I just couldn't help but love. Every episode, when the adventure would start, you're in and I'm in, just like with Hidamari Sketch, but obviously for different reasons. It's just that insane. Everything is so elaborate. Everything is so thought out. But everything is presented in a way that's so believable, except to the end where everything just sort of goes to hell, that it doesn't matter what's actually happening. I could watch these people read from the phone book, and it would be so intriguing to just watch it all play out and watch it all go through. The ride this show gives is enough to make it worth watching. It's worth every scene. It's great. It's fun. It's exciting. Is that it? Yes, but hey, sometimes that's all you need. Believe it or not, I actually avoided Log Horizon for a long time. Partially because I didn't want to watch it, because it just looked like a Sword Art clone, especially when you went by the premise. That's what it felt like, and that's what it was being marketed as, sadly. And the other reason was, as a reviewer, I didn't want to review this because I was afraid that if I liked it, people would just think that I was liking it because it was different from Sword Art. That's all my reasoning and logic was. I was afraid that I would be in a no-win situation. Either I would hate it and have a bad time, or like it and just get accusations. That was so wrong on my part, because Log Horizon is so much fun. It's such an entertaining, lovable little series with such entertaining, lovable characters that, yes, this is what Sword Art Online should have been. And it's so weird because you look at this series and compare it to Sword Art, it's backwards. You'd think this would be the one that would take itself a lot more serious based on the way it looks, and Sword Art would be sort of like the fun adventure series, but it's reversed. This series is just so entertainingly enjoyable. The characters are all relatable, and the adventures they go on are all fun. It's a little long, and the fact that we haven't had a Season 3 confirmation date yet concerns me. But this is a great, enjoyable series. Maybe it doesn't do all the things that you'd expect, but for what it does do, it's well more than worth your time. I reviewed Bleach that year. Yeah, that's kind of all I have to say. I reviewed Bleach this year. And even though technically the ending they gave was more or less just so that way when someone wants to pick it up again, they can, it still technically counts, and I am still glad I reviewed it, because Bleach is such an important anime from my childhood and growing up in the early 2000s and getting into anime, and it still really is very good. Everything about it is still fun, enjoyable, entertaining, and hey, give it props. It did technically end. Again, not really a full-on everything's over ending, but an ending nonetheless, and it's a fun, entertaining one. It will always be an important anime to me. I will always love it, and I am really glad I reviewed it and got to revisit it for a little while. I know what you're all thinking, Card Fight Vanguard again on this list, but wait, this time it's on the positive list. That's because I refuse to think any less of Season 1 because of the way things wound up. The thing is that Card Fight Vanguard Season 1 still to this day, in my opinion, does something Yu-Gi-Oh! Has never done. It brought the concept of a world run by card games and brought it down to a close reality level in a way Yu-Gi-Oh! Just, for the most part, can't. But the thing is that everything about it worked. Everything made sense about this season. And that's because the characters all felt like they could actually exist. A lot of time and effort was put into making everyone feel real. And that shows. This is a very relatable series. And it's not afraid to go down some dark directions. And I really love that and respect that about it. It still keeps that entertainment value and still makes you interested in the card games, but instead of making it into a giant spectacle like Yu-Gi-Oh!, it chooses to take it from a more personal character perspective. Think of it in the perspective of, if Yu-Gi-Oh! Is Star Wars, then Vanguard is Star Trek. In that, a good percentage of it really isn't that good unless you're a heavy fanboy. And this year's Feels Award goes to Plastic Memories. But thankfully, this show earns that Feels Award. Plastic Memories is that rare combination of purely lovable with purely emotional meets Ray-type moe stuff. But the thing is that what really sets this series apart from a lot of others that try and tug at your heartstrings is that it's not reliant on that. It has no problem spending a lot of times on its sci-fi elements, its character-driven elements, its drama elements, and it goes through a lot of them very well. Maybe a little rushed at times, and I did bring up my big issue in my review of it, but overall, this is a very good, well-made show, and I just love the idea that it's not based on anything. Someone literally said, here's my idea, let's put some money into it, let's make it work, and I think it is great, and it is worth watching. Was it what anyone was expecting to? To my knowledge, no. Was it still a great time, and I am very thankful I watched it this year? Yes, I am. That's right, it's another slice of life comedy. But this time around, we've got a slice of life comedy that's a bit more focused than Hidamari's sketch. Gekken Shoujo Nozaki-Kun really is a show designed to make fun of teenage romance while still having a lot of the elements that make it entertaining. And that is very much the best thing you can say about it. It's never afraid to go in any direction and still try and go for the punchline, but not in a way that feels desperate. It always felt like the show knew what it was doing, knew where it wanted to go, knew how it wanted to address something. I never felt like it was negative towards anything. Like, I never felt that any of Nozaki or any of the other characters' exploits or things they tried to do in the show was trying to badmouth or insult anything. It always felt like the series was trying to respect but have fun and poke fun at whatever it wanted and knew how to keep it all well balanced to the point where you just had a good, entertaining, happy feeling. I laughed my ass off watching the show. It's a lot of fun, and I'm glad to know that if you can't rely on its funniness, you can always rely on its smarts to get you through the day. Another slice of life comedy, this time one of my all-time favorites. Kochi is the perfect thing to watch if you just want to believe that relationships and teenage stuff can be good. This show is beyond hilarious. It's one of the hardest I laughed all year. I loved watching the whole thing. I love that it's simple. I love that it knows where it's going. I love that it doesn't try to mess with the audience or try and be smarter than the audience. It's a show that really does respect the intelligence of the viewer, but it doesn't show it. It looks like it would just be some dumb, cute kid show, but the thing is, you watch it and you see all the smart writing and you see all the clever characters and you see all the fun all wrapped up in this simple little package. It makes it a show that I could watch over and over again and always find something new with it. It's just a fun, enjoyable little series. You'll fall in love with it just like I have, or at least I hope you will. Otherwise, you have no heart. And then you're a vampire! Now, I know many of you are going to take issue with this one because technically, even though I said Durarara did finish for the year, new episodes I think literally come on next week or the week after. This is my list. I can do whatever the hell I want. And I love Durarara. Both Season 1 and Season 2 are excellent. In my opinion, this is some of the best dialogue and scenarios and city-type settings you will ever see in any anime, TV show, or movie. There is so much to love about this series. Everything from the characters, to the way the show looks, to the plots that go on. I love this show to death. It really is a staple of just television in general for me. It's beyond entertaining. I cannot wait for season 3 or part 2, 3 thing. Whatever, who cares what it's called. Durarara is amazing and I love it. Go watch it. Seriously, just go now. Yeah, no, was there ever any doubt from any of you? And while we're on the subject, was this just the year of slice of life comedies for me? Not only am I dovetailing my best and worst of the year with them, but literally there was like 4 on this list. But who cares? That's the way things turned out, and I don't regret it. And I do not regret watching I don't understand what my husband is saying. This show to me is perfect. Like, I have no flaws. I find nothing wrong with it. It's the hardest I laughed all year. It takes you like an hour to watch the whole thing because every episode's 3 minutes long. But in that hour, I laughed harder than any movie or any show on this list because it's perfect. Like, they do it. They somehow get across the characters and this relationship and the insanity of their lives together just over the course of 3 minutes at a time. It's unheard of. It's unbelievable. I mean, you could make the argument a lot of us do with at 3 minutes there's no fat to add to it just to make a certain time mark. But still, to do all that in that time is amazing. And this show is just so beautiful in that fact. It's the first time I've ever watched anything that made me think marriage is a good idea, because we live in that world nowadays where, marriage doesn't seem like a good thing. Most couples end in divorce, things go horrible, all that. This is so beautiful in its simplicity that just shows, no, it can work, and there is fights, and there is stupid stuff that happens, and they both can be idiots at times, but it works because they just love each other, and it never forces any of that down your throat. It's just so natural through the dialogue and the way things go, and the show looks beautiful, and it sounds great. I just love every second of this show. I know it sounds crazy to say, but this anime, it makes you feel good about people, and it just does it in such a great way. I really, when it was over, just felt better in general about it. I can't explain why or how. I know most people it's just a stupid little slice of life comedy, but it had that effect on me. I just thought it was so perfect in every sense of the word, and I want everyone to watch this. I just think it's that funny. And on top of that, it does do that, and I don't know if a lot of people watched it. I don't know if this was a hit, so I don't know if a 3rd season would show up. I don't really need it because the story feels perfect. Granted, there isn't much of a story to begin with, but yeah, no, this was just the best. I loved watching it, and I will never say otherwise. But what did you think? It was obviously 365 days, and there was a lot of stuff I didn't get to that I know a lot of people liked. If you're wondering where the One Punch Mans or anything else, that I think One Punch Man was the only thing anyone liked this year, that's coming. I didn't finish them on time, but don't worry, that's coming because 2016 is here, and I want you all to click and like and click to subscribe so that way we can embark on this year of anime together.